Hello, my friends. The main summaries for Ukraine and the world around Ukraine for next week. Main trends and main events which were going on during the last 7 days around Ukraine. With the new Donald Trump administration coming to power in the United States, focused to ending of the hostilities and as soon as possible, American policy towards Ukraine is likely to undergo significant changes. Against the backdrop of preparations for the resumption of peace talks initiated by the elected United States president, Ukraine is entering a new phase of political and social transformation. This process is due to increasingly complex situation at the front, a decrease in the level of support for the Ukrainian government, both from Western allies seeking to coordinate their action with the new US administration and from Ukrainian society tired of the protracted conflict is going on. In particular, Vladimir Zelensky is losing his status as an undisputed leader against the backdrop of growing popularity of other alternative figures, such as former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny, and the head of main intelligence directorate, Kirill Budanov. Society's fatigue from the war is creating a demand for peace talks and a cessation of hostilities, as well as a decrease of foreign policy support. All of these can really create a complex and unstable political environment within the country, in which traditional methods of governing the government may no longer work. A turning point in public opinion in Ukraine has also been recorded. The majority of Ukrainians now support peace talks. Last week, the American Gallup Institute published the results of a poll according to which support for peace talks in Ukraine reached 52% of population, exceeding the majority mark for the first time since the start of the full-scale Russian invasion. Thus, fatigue from military action and fear of further deterioration of the situation are already becoming dominant factor in public sentiment. Previously, these changes were noted only in the closet sociological studies, but their publications right now is of particular importance. The Ukrainian leadership is preparing for difficult negotiation with the winner of United States presidential election, Donald Trump, who has declared his desire to end the war in the Ukraine as quickly as possible. At the same time, it is widely believed that the Republicans will try to encourage President Vladimir Zelensky to agree to stop the war along the front line, which contradicts the official doctrine of Ukrainian government, which insists on continuing the war until it reaches the 1991 borders. One of the arguments of Ukrainian authorities against ending the war as soon as possible was the thesis that the majority of Ukrainian citizens do not support such a scenario. However, the results of the Gallup survey partially undermine this position, demonstrating that the majority of Ukrainians are in favor of ending the war through negotiations. The government team tends to blame Russia and its hidden allies for the emergence of these processes, including for this reason that the Ukrainian leadership seek to further escalate the confrontation and raise the stakes to show that the enemy's information operation and subversive activities will not force the Ukrainian government to make unfavorable compromises. At the same time, United States President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Keith Kellogg for the post of Assistant of the President and Special Representative for Ukraine and Russia. Kellogg previously served as the Chief of Staff of the White House National Security Council during Trump's first term and was an advisor to Vice President Mike Pence. In the spring of 2024, he and Fred Flates, former head of the National Security Council staff, published a plan for settling the war in Ukraine, which will likely become the basis for the future policy of the Trump administration, or maybe as a start point at the beginning. In their study, America First, Russia and Ukraine, Kellogg and Flates propose tying further military aid to Ukraine to its participation in peace talks with the Russian Federation. To connect these two questions, they believe that the United States should continue to arm Ukraine and strengthen its defense to ensure that the Russian Federation cannot advance further and does not attack again after a ceasefire or a peace agreement is concluded. But the future American military aid will depend on Ukrainians' willingness to participate in peace talks with the Russian Federation. Thus, it is proposed to use military aid as a tool to encourage Ukraine to participate in the talks, as well as to put pressure to Russia to achieve a ceasefire and a peaceful settlement of the conflict. The Kellogg's Flates plan assumes the next points. Ceasefire and negotiation. The United States will seek an end to hostilities and the start of negotiation between Ukraine and Russia. Freezing the conflict. The war will be frozen along the current front line. Conditional military aid to Ukraine, arms deliveries to Ukraine will continue, but only in the condition that Kyiv agrees to participate in peace talks. Pressure to Moscow. Russia will be encouraged, pressured, pushed to participate in the negotiation by threatening to increase military aid to Ukraine in case of refusal. Sanctions and duties. Some sanctions against Russia will be lifted, but duties will be introduced on imports of Russian energy resources to finance the restoration of Ukraine. The issue of Ukrainians' accession to NATO will be postponed for a long time in exchange to security guarantees backed by broad international agreements. Strong security guarantees. Kellogg and Flates suggest arming Ukraine to the teeth as a key element of country's long-term defense. Long-term return of territories. Ukraine will not be required to renounce its intention to return all of its territories, but it is stipulated that only diplomatic means will be used for this, and the process may take years, peaceful years. Few details are known about, only a few details are known about the Kellogg's approach yet, but he's already cited another work, which contains numerous references and articles by other American researchers, Richard Haas and Charles Kupchan. This work name is A New Definition of Success, and it was published in 2023 in American Journal of Foreign Affairs, which not only stated the discrepancy between Ukraine resources and the goals set and the time factor on the side of Russian Federation, but also proposed a plan to end the war, a ceasefire initiated by Ukraine and under the auspices and controlled by United Nations, EOS, and the OR and OST. Ukraine's transition to strategic defense and restoration of her territory in order to increase Russia's cost of war. Guarantees of support for Ukraine in accordance with the Article 4 of the NATO Charter. Not 5, 4. Article 4 of the NATO's Charter, it's an article about the immediate consultation, but not the collective defense. And acceleration of Ukrainians' accession to the European Union, maintaining most of the sanctions against the Russian Federation until the territorial integrity of Ukraine is restored. War of necessity has become a war of choice by Ukraine. That very important word was cited, was written by Haas and Kupchin in their article. Although Kellogg's plan has not yet been officially confirmed, its key elements give an idea of the possible direction of the policy of a new Donald Trump's administration. The main objective will be to the end of hostilities, but the proposed measures may force serious resistance from both countries, Ukraine and Russia. Choosing Kellogg for a special representative, Trump also would choose a special approach, maybe only starting approach, not the even middle, of course, not the ending approach, but the starting approach for finding resolution of this conflict, of this huge war. At the same time, South Korea refused to supply weapons to Ukraine from the military and from the political side, and it was very painful for Ukraine this week. Ukraine wanted to achieve South Korea's K-2 tanks and K-9 self-propelled artillery units. But South Korea, even if we are taking into consideration the possible participation of North Korean troops in the war against of Ukraine, South Korea refused this Ukrainian this Ukrainian will. At the same time, situation in the front line of Ukraine is not very good. I will show you a briefly map to show what is going on during the last week in the fronts of the war, because that situation, it looks like the situation is going worse and worse. This is a general map of Ukraine. The red part is occupied by Russia, and the green part, it's Ukrainian green, and such a dark gray, dark green part, it's a part under the control of Ukraine. But you can see what was going on during the last week. At the beginning of the week, for November 23, Russia controlled 111 square kilometers of Ukrainian territories and 111,252 square kilometers of Ukrainian territories. What happened during the week? I'm changing the date, and you can see that during the last week, Russia achieved the control near 200 square kilometers of the territories. What were the main places, main sites of hostility? Of course, it was a region near Kurahovo and Velikaya Novoselovka. It's the southern part of Donbas. This is Velika Novoselovka. This is Kurahovo, and this is Pokrovsk, Mernograd. What happened during this week? Please remind these dots and just see the map. Just see the map how Russia was moving and captured new lands. The Russian offensive operation is going on Donbas, and situation is worsening, and Ukraine is not able to stop this operation. Moreover, we have a lot of information and rumors about the Russian preparation to a new offensive operation against Zaporizhia. Also, Ukraine is still keeping the territories of Kursk Oblast, but the size of this territory is also changing in a bad way. For nowadays, Ukraine is controlling near 537 square kilometers of the territory, but at the beginning of the Ukrainian intervention to Russian lands, it was in 2 times bigger. And during the week, you can see that this situation also is not good, because during the week Ukraine lost 10 square kilometers of this territory small. So the situation in the front line has a chronic negative development for Ukraine, but the front line, look it very carefully, the front line is still far away from the main Ukrainian cities like Dnipro, like Cherkasy, like Kyiv, and in the south, Odessa, Nikolaev, and others. So even if we are taking into account the very high, very bloody hostilities in the front line, development of the war will not push any of the sides to the capitulation or to the radical changing of its political strategy to this war. And that is the problem. That is the reason why war is still going on. What happened more during the week in Ukraine? We will talk about the internal policy of Ukraine, because rumors are actively spreading in the media about the possible resignation of Kirill Budanov as the head of military intelligence of Ukraine, GUR, and changing him for another person. They allegedly plan to appoint the deputy head of the SBU, Alexander Poklad, in Kirill Budanov's place, according to different sources and Western sources in Ukraine, because Mr. Poklad is considered more loyal to the president, who is steamed to the office of the president of Ukraine. This process, according to media sources, is being lobbied by the head of the presidential office, Andriy Yermak, and Alexander Poklad himself. Attempts to fire Budanov may intensify in December, when the political situation becomes especially tense. At the same time, the SBU denied the possible appointment of Poklad as the head of the GUR and called these rumors a leak by the Russian special services. Of all the version of personal changes in the intelligence leadership, this is the most confrontational in relation to Budanov personally. Since the head of the GUR had previously made it clear that the Poklad could be involved in the murder of an intelligence officer, Banker Kyiv, in March 2022, who was a member of Ukrainian delegation in peaceful negotiation in Minsk. In early 2022, Budanov gave a number of interviews in the mass media where he developed this topic in detail. Although a criminal case was opened for the murder of Kyiv, nothing is known about the results of the investigation. Office of the President said that the murder occurred during a communication failure between the various Ukrainian special services in the first weeks of the war and during the first days chaos of the war. Recall the rumors about the possible resignation of Kirill Budanov were spreading back in early autumn. Kirill Budanov was allegedly going to be fired due to his conflict with due the conflict with Andrei Yermak. In addition, Kirill Budanov has alternative channels of communication with Western allies. In the event of dismissal, Kirill Budanov was offered the position of ambassador of Ukraine to Turkey, but he refused it. At the same time, Andriy Yermak can take advantage of the temporary power vacuum in the United States when the current President Joe Biden becomes a lame duck and Donald Trump has not yet taken office. This creates an opportunity for internal in Ukraine reshuffles with a minimal international pressure and participation. In general, the presidential office is very wary of the emergence of a new potential leaders, especially from the military. Since it is the military that has always enjoyed the greatest trust in Ukrainian society, especially during the war. Although the information about personal changes in the war is officially denied, it is obvious that that tension exists between politicians and the leadership of our special services and army about the political future of Ukrainian political system. According to some polls, which was also published in Ukraine last days, Kirill Budanov has surprised Vladimir Zelensky in the public trust rankings and now occupies the second position in the rating after the former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Zaluzhny. Vladimir Zelensky in these ratings takes only third place. Its ratings not electoral rating, but rating of the trust. And this alignment creates a political threat for the presidential team, especially on the eve of possible elections next year, which may be necessary given the negotiation initiated by Donald Trump. The special monitoring center commissioned by American Political Service, American company, released the results of a poll according to which Ukrainians trust the former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine and the current ambassador of Ukraine to the United Kingdom, Zaluzhny, its level of trust for him 72%, 72 against 22% distrust, as well as the head of the main of the GUR, Budanov, has 55 versus 32, and the Zelensky is trusted by only 44% of Ukrainians versus 55 against him. The electoral ratings for whom citizens are ready to vote as a president has not yet been announced. But in the potential parliamentary election, the hypothetical party of the former commander-in-chief Valery Zaluzhny wins by a wide margin. In particular, the results of the parliamentary elections, due also sociological poll, could be the next. Valery Zaluzhny parties, 34%. This party is absent for now. It doesn't exist, but 34% of Ukrainians are ready to vote only for the second name Zaluzhny. Vladimir Zelensky party, 12%, 34 and 12. Poroshenko European Solidarity, 9. Kirill Budanov's party, 7%, but Kirill Budanov also could be a partner of Zaluzhny. Dmitry Razumkov, 6. Yulia Tymoshenko party, 6. And Sergei Pritula's party, also 6. In addition, the majority of Ukrainians surveyed, 64%, said that they support the start of negotiation on freezing hostilities because Ukraine has already suffered heavy losses. Only 31% do not support it. At the same time, 39% of respondents said that the victory in the war should be reaching the country's national recognized borders of 1991. But 56% majority do not agree with this. So it makes a wide field for the possible negotiation. Of course, if there will be a will from the government and Ukrainian leadership. Moreover, I want to remind you that last week the results of a poll by the leading American Gallup Institute reported that support for peace talks in Ukraine has increased to 52%, reaching a majority for the first time. And the last point, President Volodymyr Zelensky signed the law of the state budget of Ukraine. There are a lot of numbers. All general budget of Ukraine near 80 billion United States dollars. Half of them should be sent to Ukraine from Western allies. Half of this Ukrainian budget, near 40 billion United States dollars, it could be a loan from our Western allies of support of grant and so on. Moreover, President also signed a new taxation law which is increasing Ukrainian taxes for small, middle, and different type of businesses, starting from the gas station and in the private personal enterprises. Thank you, friends, for watching this this short vlog. If you like it, and if you like what I am doing, how I am discovering the situation in Ukraine, please subscribe for this channel. Please put your finger up and please write down your question. See you next time.